The Toronto Maple Leafs are at the very bottom of the Eastern Conference, which should be good news for the Blue Jackets. However, we don't get to have nice things. Can the Blue Jackets figure out a way to get a win? We discuss on today's Locked On Blue Jackets.
You're Locked On Blue Jackets, your daily podcast on the Columbus Blue Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, and welcome to Locked On Blue Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am, as always, your host, Jay Foster, here to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly about your favorite team and mine, the Columbus Blue Jackets. Before we get things started, I want to thank everyone for making this your first listen of the day every single day. Thank you for making us the #1 sports podcast network. And I also have to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Let's talk about the Maple Leafs. The Blue Jackets are playing them again, somehow. They just played them last week. They are done with the season series after tonight with the Leafs, which is kind of nice. I love to be done with the Leafs. Blue Jackets are 2-0 so far. They can sweep the season series tonight. Will they? That's another question that we'll try to figure out. The Leafs continue to be a really, really weird team for a lot of reasons, right? They are like the 5th highest scoring team. They scored the 5th most goals per game in the league, but they also allow more goals than any other team in the league but one, which is not like a great recipe for success. Like I said at the top of the show, the Leafs are at the very bottom of the Eastern Conference. They have 21 points in 22 games, a goal differential of -8, and they have allowed, I think, more goals than anyone else in the East for sure. They have allowed more goals. The only teams that have allowed more goals are the Edmonton Oilers, the St. Louis Blues, and the Vancouver Canucks. That's not great company to be in, for the most part. I don't understand the Oilers. I mean, I kind of understand the Oilers, right? But yikes. The Leafs are a weird team because it feels like there's nothing on paper, really, for them to be as kind of as rough as they've been the past little while. They've only got 3 wins in their last 10. They were on a 5-game losing streak, and then they won in overtime. They lost to the Blue Jackets in overtime. They lost to Montreal on Saturday. They, I believe they play tonight, but I might be wrong. Or I say tonight. They play yesterday. Tonight, as of the time of recording this. No, I am incorrect. So I guess they've had a few days off. But their only win in their last 8 games is an overtime win against St. Louis, which they nearly blew anyway. So they really should be better than that, right? Like, I think their roster is a real kind of I feel like they tried to moneyball the roster a little bit, of like, well, we can't get another Mitch Marner, but we can replace him in the aggregate, right? And it turns out that actually maybe you can't replace a 100-point scorer with in the aggregate. They're not getting great goaltending from Anthony Stolarz, who's been injured. They're getting fine goaltending from Dennis Hildeby. Getting Joseph Woll back will help. He's been good. He's got a 905 in the 4 games that he's played for them so far this season. So like that's good news for the Leafs, at least. Hopefully Woll can figure it out. I would love if he didn't figure it out too much tonight. The Blue Jackets played. It was Jet versus Woll when they played last week. Blue Jackets came out on top, but Joseph Woll played very, very well. Here's the thing about the Leafs. They are potentially getting Austin Matthews back tonight. Now, I know that everyone is saying that Austin Matthews hasn't been great this season, and he has kind of on a down season. He's having a down year so far. 14 points in 17 games before he went out with the injury. I think he's really struggling with not having his usual line mate, Mitch Marner. But he's not like a complete scrub, right? Like, he's still a great goal scorer. He's still got more goals than almost anyone on the Blue Jackets. Adam Fantilli has 9, and Dmitry Voronkov has 9. So does Austin Matthews. No one else has more than Matthews on the Blue Jackets. And the Blue Jackets love to give guys a get-right game, you know? So they've got Matthews. They've got Nyes, who I believe is going to be potentially back as well. They've got John Tavares, who's played in both games so far. William Nylander played the last game. He's always dangerous, right? Like, he's leading the team right now with 29 points in 19 games. He's having a great season. The defense is kind of Morgan Riley and a collection of guys. But this is not a team that you can kind of waltz in and be like, yeah, this seems fine. We can easily beat this team. Even the fact that the Blue Jackets are up 2-0 in the season series, right? They beat them 6-3 in October, and they beat them 3-2 in overtime last week, right? That doesn't mean the Blue Jackets are going to be able to waltz into this game and be like, oh, well, this is an easy game. Because it's not going to be, right? This Blue Jackets team right now is struggling with injuries. The Leafs are getting healthy, the Blue Jackets are not. The Blue Jackets, I know I just said that the Leafs have had a rough last handful of games, again, 3-5-2 in their last 10. The Blue Jackets are only 4-3-3 in their last 10. They're on a 2-game losing streak right now. They've lost 3 of their last 4. They've lost 4 of their last 6. And the games that they have won in that time have been overtime or shootout wins, right? Like, they've got 1 regulation win in their last 10 games, which is, again, not like a great recipe for success. Goaltending has been up and down for the Blue Jackets. I assume we're going to see Jack Greaves in goal tonight. Elvis was not great against Washington on Monday night, which I don't know why they expected him to be. I feel like he always plays badly against Washington. So that kind of is a whole other thing, though, right? This is going to be, I need to prepare you guys for this. This is going to be a really stupid game. I do not think this is going to be a game where the Blue Jackets play well. I do think probably they're going to get the win, but I don't think they're going to deserve it. Frankly, I'm okay with that right now. I would rather take the win and play badly than play well and lose, because I'm over the moral victories of it all. Get the 2 points, figure it out later, right? The season's not going to get any easier for the Blue Jackets. Take 2 points from a team below you in the standings and get the heck out. Do I have faith in the Blue Jackets doing this? Yeah, kind of. Like I said, it's been a rough little while. This is a team that is capable of doing this. This is a team that is absolutely capable of doing this. Is this a team that will do this? Well, they might have to blow a lead to get there, but partially I think it depends on who's healthy, who's playing, who the Leafs bring, what the Leafs do. Because, again, yes, the Blue Jackets are kind of, I don't want to call them a mentally fragile team necessarily, but I do think they are a team that needs to learn how to close out games, right? The Leafs are also not a particularly mentally strong team. If the Blue Jackets can avoid blowing a lead, which, I'm going to knock on wood and also my own wooden skull about this, they should be able to win this game handily. It was worrying that they didn't dominate that game on November 20th because $40 million of the Leafs cap didn't play in that game because they're injured. The Blue Jackets should have dominated that game. And I mean, they won, great. But they let Toronto get a point, and it wasn't dominant the way that the first game of the season was, right? Now, the Blue Jackets took advantage of them having Caden Primo in net for the first game. I don't think they'll be able to do that again this game. It's going to be Joseph Woll. The Leafs don't play tonight. I don't believe they play tomorrow because tomorrow is Thanksgiving and no one plays tomorrow. So, yes, correct. So there's no reason for them not to play Woll. It should be Greaves versus Woll, which, should be a good matchup, if a little tense. But the Blue Jackets have to figure things out. There's no magic trick here. There's no, if they do this, they can win. If they do that, they can win. They just need to figure it the heck out. And if they don't do that, it's going to become a really, really long season. These are games that you should win. These are games that you have to win if you want to be a playoff team. I know we talked a lot yesterday about is this team a playoff team or not, and I still don't know the answer to that. If they lose tonight, they're going to lose a couple of percentage points in my estimation of is this a playoff team or not. Because you can't lose to teams. It's very similar to the Calgary game, right? Like, that's not a game that a team that is serious about making the playoffs should lose. And yet they did. So, who can say what's going to happen tonight? Here's some of the problems that I have for tonight. I don't know who's going to be playing for the Blue Jackets. I don't know who's healthy right now. That's a problem because a couple of the guys that are questionable are kind of key guys to the Blue Jackets' success. So let's take a quick break and then let's talk about some injuries for the Blue Jackets on today's Locked On Blue Jackets. First, I'm going to tell you about FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there is no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who's going to score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team is making that late push. And right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Just find the heaviest favorite you can. Maybe don't put money on the Blue Jackets winning a game tonight, but find a heavy favorite. Put $5 on it. If it wins, you're going to get $300 in bonus bets that you can spend on whatever you want. You can spend that money on the Blue Jackets winning if you want. But head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. I also have to tell you about Monarch. Let's be honest, most of us can't name all our financial accounts, let alone what they're worth. Between 401k, savings, investments, it's easy to lose track, and that can mean leaving money on the table. That's why I started using Monarch. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. I am terrible with money. And so I used to have a billion different apps to help me deal with this. I had a budgeting app. Obviously, I had my banking app. I would, have several spreadsheets. I had a notebook by my desk that I would use when I got too overwhelmed by the spreadsheets. I don't do any of that anymore. Monarch has it all for me. They've got visual dashboards and smart tools to make it so much easier to understand where my money's going and how to make it work harder for me. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarch.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarch.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for 50% off your first year. Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jackets. Let's talk about the injuries because there's some good news and some questionable news, by which I mean we don't know if it's good news or not, or bad news. We don't know what the news is yet. We haven't heard anything. As of the time of recording this, it sounds like Zach Werenski is going to be good to go tonight, which is huge. Because if Zach Werenski is not good to go, Ivan Provorov is now our number one defenseman. He shouldn't be. It should be Denton Matejchuk. Everything should run through Denton Matejchuk if Werenski's not here. It's not going to. What's going to happen is Ivan Provorov is going to play 28 minutes. He's going to be on power play 1. He's going to kill a bunch of penalties. It's going to be brutal for everyone to watch, including me. And it's going to be a miserable time. But it sounds like, knock on wood again, Zach Werenski's good to go. It also sounds like, this is not injury related, but just in terms of the defenseman, Brendan Smith signed a 1-year, 2-way contract a couple days ago, which I liked him a lot in preseason. I know we talked about this back then. I was surprised they didn't give him a contract then, but I kind of understood. They got a lot of defensemen in the mix, but it sounds like they want another defenseman in the mix. I think Dean Everson is over the Jake Christensen experience, which is fine, whatever. Branson's going to be back soon, it sounds like, which is also kind of whatever to me. But I don't hate having Brendan Smith in the I don't hate having Brendan Smith in the lineup. Like I said, I liked him in preseason. He's not flashy. He's not going to do a million different things. He's going to be, I think, a leveled up Gabranson, which is not terrible, right? So if Werenski can't go, it sounds like we're going to see Brendan Smith either way. But the hope is that Werenski can go, right? The other question marks are much more worrying because we don't know anything about Krelmarchenko or Mathieu Olivier. Now, one of these is obviously much more key to the Blue Jackets' success than the other one. Krelmarchenko is the engine of this team right now, especially when it comes to the offense. They suffered without him last night. It looked very much like a team without Krelmarchenko. The game last night actually reminded me a lot of the game right before the Four Nations break last season, when Marchenko had the broken jaw, Werenski missed a game, and Dante Fabro also missed a game. And I believe they were playing Buffalo was their final game, and they looked god-awful. They just looked like they didn't know anything was going on. Very, very similar to last night, or not last night, Monday night's game. I'm recording this on Tuesday night, so it was last night for me. But if they don't have Werenski, if they don't have Marchenko, it's just going to be brutal. So the hope is that Werenski can play. The hope is that if nothing is serious with Krelmarchenko, Mathieu Olivier is still a key piece of this team. He is less key than Marchenko and Werenski, obviously. But he's part of that third line, which has been a very good line for the Blue Jackets offensively. And I don't know what the options are if he can't go, right? If Marchenko can't go and Olivier can't go, the Blue Jackets only have 11 healthy forwards then. So luckily they're back in Columbus, so we might see an my guess is that we'll know more based on if there's an emergency call-up, which I don't know if they'll call Luca Del Blues up. I don't know who they'll call up, but they might go 11-7. That's another option. I don't love it as an option, but it's also another option. But that third line has been potentially the most consistent for the Blue Jackets this season. A lot of the other lines have had their ups and downs, right? The third line is not always the best, but they are always the same. So losing Olivier from that line probably will have an effect. I don't know how I feel about tonight's game. It should be the Blue Jackets again. The Blue Jackets should win this game, but they should have won a lot of the games that they've lost this season. So I'm kind of sitting here like it's predictions time. That's what we're doing now. We're going to do predictions. So I'm sitting here looking at it like, do I trust this team to score more than one goal? Do I trust this team to allow fewer than 4 goals? I don't want to predict a 4-1 win for the Maple Leafs because that sucks. But that might be what happens, right? That's not going to be my prediction. You know the rules. It's not a rule, but my own personal rule for myself is that I always pick the Blue Jackets to win. It's just really tough to look at this and say, yes, I absolutely think the Blue Jackets will win this game. I think I'm going to say, I'm going to say that there will be a Charlie Coyle goal, because it's been a minute and he had that really good game against the Leafs to begin the season in Nationwide. If it was in Toronto, I would be picking Adam Fantilli because Adam Fantilli loves to score goals against the Leafs in Toronto. But I'm going to say that there's going to be a Charlie Coyle goal. And let's say a 3-1 Blue Jackets win. I feel much more confident with Jet in net right now than I do with Elvis. And Jet's been really good against the Leafs so far. So I'm going to go ahead and say a 3-1 Blue Jackets win. It's going to be in regulation, obviously, because it's a 2-goal win. And that's not how overtime works. But a 3-1 Blue Jackets win and a Charlie Coyle goal. That's my prediction. Get your predictions in the comments on YouTube. There's going to be a tweet going out probably around about the time this episode goes live. So get your predictions there. We predict a Blue Jackets anytime goal scorer and who is going to win and what the final score is. Tonight is game 24. So after the next game, which I believe is the Penguins on Friday, we'll do another leaderboard update for who's winning. So if you want to win stickers and maybe a gift card and also glory, then get your predictions down below or over on Twitter. Thank you for listening to this episode, for making it your first listen of the day every single day. Locked On Blue Jackets is free and available on all podcast platforms and over on YouTube. I have been your host, Jay Foster. You can find me on Blue Sky at JAKOBFORSTER. You can find the show at LO_Blue Jackets on Twitter and LO-Blue Jackets on Blue Sky. Tomorrow we'll break down tonight's game, the good, the bad, and the ugly. You know the drill. Thank you once again for listening, and until then, make sure you stay locked on.